You are listening to Wake Up Laguna. This is Rick Jorgensen, your host, and I'm very excited to be here on this particular Wednesday morning. I have a very special guest here live in studio, which I don't often get to have, so this is a lot of fun. When I have guests, normally I have them come in through Zoom or Google Meet, that type of thing. So it's great to be able to have, Frances here with me. Hold on, we're trying to figure out her mic situation. There we go. I think that's probably going to be better now that I've gotten rid of that musical backtrack. So anyway, I've got Frances Naude in studio. Very excited to have Frances here. Frances was here, I think she was here for my second ever show, which would have been sometime back last year. It's always fun to say last year. Makes it sound like I've been on the air for a long time. So it was exciting to have Frances in. We're going to spend a lot more time in this show talking specifically about tarot and really kind of taking a deep dive. She's brought her cards in, and I'm excited to kind of dive into that with her. But also, I think one of the big announcements and changes since last we spoke to Frances is she now has a physical location here in Laguna Beach, which I'm sure for her is both scary and exciting. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that, talk a little bit more about Frances's practice, her services, and what she offers both in her physical location as well as online, her online business. So Frances, it's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and we are excited to have you here. So you're okay? Yeah.
You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic.
Absolutely. You have a hot mic now, so just know that.
I won't scream.
So be careful what you say, and always make sure that we don't drop any kind of words that would have to be bleeped out later. You know what's interesting, and I always found this interesting, is there is if you were out there listening to the radio right now, there's a delay, okay? And I don't know what it is. I don't know how many seconds it is, but it's there in case somebody's in the studio and they say something and you can hit a button somewhere. I don't know what button I'd hit. I guess maybe I could just hit the off button on your mic is what I could hit just to stop whatever you were saying that I didn't want people to hear, I suppose. But it's great to have you here.
Thank you. And hopefully, I'll be sure we don't need to do that in any way.
No.
Oh, good.
I'm sure we don't. So yeah, a number of changes since last time you were here. I think certainly your practice is had some changes, no question about it. You have a new physical location, Lightwork Laguna Beach, which is just down the street from where we're at right now. Yep. It is by Oak Restaurant, is it not?
Exactly, a couple doors down.
Yeah, so that would be between Oak and Brooks Street.
Yep,
right?
It's in the Village Fair Shops, kind of the Gina's building is the best way. Most people know the Gina's building.
Exactly,
yes.
Right. So you're just upstairs.
Second story. Yep.
Second story, that's fantastic.
If anyone goes and works out at Laguna Bar or goes and gets their hair done at Indigenous Salon, both of which I frequent, I'm right next door to Laguna Bar, right across from Indigenous Salon.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Wow. And it's a beautiful space. If you guys get a chance, you can go to lightworklagunabeach.com, right? Yeah. lightworklagunabeach.com, and you can see this gorgeous space. I have not physically seen it, but the pictures are really nice. It looks like a very pretty space.
Thank you. Yes, the pictures, my friend John Roberts, he took them. He's fantastic. And it took many, many years to finally find the right space and many, many months to finally get it set up. So I'm excited to officially be open because, it's been a long time coming, and I'm sure a lot of small business owners can understand there's always going to be hurdles in all of the things and learning as you go and figuring things out. And encouraging people to take a chance on you. For the longest time, landlords were like, what do you do? And I was like, I promise it's just like a normal modality. I swear I'm like a normal person. This is just as effective as therapy or acupuncture or chiropractics. And some people were like, this is very strange. And yeah, so I'm really grateful to be in Village Fair and
that's great.
Get going.
Yeah,
Connect with the community.
I think it's a great space. It's a great location for you, easy for people to get to. And you've already started, right? I mean, you already have appointments, things, people coming in, right? That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I do. It's really exciting. It's been wonderful. I mean, I've been working virtually for, I don't even know how many years now, years and years and years and years, 2 years pre-COVID. So I can't do math, but I can't believe COVID was now, 2020 was 5 years ago. But yeah, so what, plus 2 to 3, 7, 8 years.
Right.
And so I'm definitely still doing that because a lot of my community is all over the country and all over the world, but a lot of them do live within drivable distance. So it's been so great to get to meet people in person and hug people and get to share what we do in a different way. And in terms of effectiveness, both sessions, distance or in person, are 100% as effective as one another, but it's definitely a different experience. And some people prefer distance because they get to be in their own home and comfortable in their own space and they don't have to leave. I know a lot of people with young kids are like, yeah, I don't have time to drive. I'm like, I get it. So it's great to do it that way. And then a lot of people really like to have that dedicated time and space without the distraction of home where they can come and receive and get a minute away from their amazing families.
Which is very cool. So you're doing both Reiki and you're doing tarot in that setting.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Which is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. And from a space standpoint, is there one dedicated room that you've got for the Reiki healing?
Yes. So it's quite a small space. I call it my small but mighty and magical healing haven in Laguna Beach. The front is where we do tarot. So you walk in, it's not, teeny tiny, but it is small compared to many other spaces. But there's a desk in the front, and so we do tarot there. And then in the back room, there's a massage table, and that's where you do Reiki. And then oftentimes after Reiki, we'll kind of have a little debrief about what came up during the session. So we'll go back out to the desk, and I'll make you a cup of tea or offer sparkling water or whatever anyone's jam is. And so we alternate between the two rooms, and it's nice to have separate spaces for both.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. Congratulations on getting that underway. That's a very exciting big step from a business standpoint for sure. So
and terrifying. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. It was really, there were so many times I was like, oh my gosh, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? And it just really felt right. I know last time I was on the show, we talked about that, the intuitive hit and not questioning too much and just following it. So that's what I'm doing and trusting the process as we go. Absolutely.
And always, divine timing, right? I mean, that's really just how things fall into place. And this was meant to happen exactly the way it was meant to happen. You jump through all kinds of, I'm sure, hoops to get there, like you were talking about. And you looked at different spaces and, you looked at places that probably the rent was ridiculous. And you thought there's no way I'd have to have... Let's see, let me do the math. I'd have to work about 12 hours a day, have each one of those hours filled, and then I might be able to pay the rent. So
exactly. Yeah, there was actually a space that it's quite a long story how I got to where I am in terms of the physical space, but there was a space that was beautiful, but it was really large, and I was really, just like, I can make this work, I can make this work, I can make this work. And it was just, it didn't feel exciting. It felt, I think the best things in life feel a little bit exciting, a little bit scary.
Sure.
This one just felt only scary. And I was like, yeah, that's not it. And then luckily there was this smaller space in the same building in the Village Fair shops. And it just became available right at the right time. So I felt really divinely guided there and very protected, because had I bitten off more than I could chew, I think it would have been a bummer in a lot of ways.
Yes, for sure. So that's great. That's awesome. So we are here specifically this morning to take a deep dive into tarot. this has been something that you've been involved with for how long now?
Oh my gosh. I took my first tarot class when I was working in corporate after I just graduated college. So almost 10 years ago, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then been doing it ever since.
Right. And you've actually come up with your own deck, right?
I did.
Yeah,
yes.
which is cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that I created, oh my gosh, 3 years ago now. And that was a really wonderful learning process. I worked with an amazing artist. It's all hand illustrated. And then I wrote / channeled the guidebook, in which she was just fantastic. I did that piece first, and then I shared all the descriptions with her. And then she was able to just do such an amazing job in kind of bringing them to life through the artistry. And
Right.
yeah, it was really important that we work together on that, because for me, I think there's so many different tarot decks out there and everyone's going to be called to a different one, which is fantastic. The intention behind mine was to create a deck that felt really beautiful, really light energetically, and also really accessible to people, especially if they're just starting out on their journey. We can get more into this later, but the way that I read cards is oftentimes very visual. Like, I'll look at the imagery on the card, which is why the traditional tarot deck, Rider Waite, it's really detailed in the imagery. And so you can receive a lot of information through that. And so I wanted mine to be a modernized version of that, still really rooted in that traditional, original tarot card deck, but just updated to be a little lighter, a little bit more beautiful, and still have those descriptive images that people can receive from in their own way. Because I believe that tarot, yes, you have the traditional definitions of the cards, but it's also a tool to receive outside of that as well. So,
Right.
yeah, that was the intention behind the deck.
Excellent.
And it's all sustainably made, which is very important to me.
That's awesome. I love that. So let's pretend that everyone listening has no idea what tarot is. Can you give us just a very brief description of what is behind tarot and what's the meaning of?
Yeah. So it's changed a lot over the centuries. Tarot is actually centuries old. It was once used in the church. And I find that very interesting, because now it is quite a huge, big no-no in religious settings, which I totally understand and respect based on, the teachings of a lot of organized religions. But for me, tarot is a tool. It is a way to receive information from the universe, from God, from spirit, source, whatever it is that you believe in. And it's just another pathway to receive. Why I really like it is because it's a tangible practice, right? So when we go to pray or when we go to meditate, if we have a really busy brain, or, we are struggling to even make time to do that, it can really easily slip by the wayside. But when you have your tarot deck out, you're like, oh yeah, okay, maybe I'll go get some insight now. And so that's really how I work with tarot. A lot of people work with it this way. A lot of people see it this way as fortune telling. For me, that is not how I work with tarot. I work with tarot in a way of gaining insight and understanding a current situation. What's going on? Why is it this way? What do I need to know about it? How can I best move through it? A lot of people also fear tarot because there's some scary looking cards in the deck. Like, one of the cards is called the devil. One of the cards is a death card. And so they see these cards and they're like, oh my, I don't want that one. I'm like, no, those are the great ones, because those cards show you, like the death card, for example, that's actually about rebirth. It's about the passing on of all the things that no longer serve, and like optimizing a transformation. The devil card is all about understanding the shadow self and like finally releasing all of the yucky stuff that has been stored in your energy from, your childhood, whatever it may be. And so that's really how I work with tarot, is a really actionable way to live a life that feels good to each person. And I find it extremely insightful, and I also find it extremely comforting. There's times where I pull cards for myself and I'm like, okay, God, what is going on? Because it's been a rough week, or I'm really in a sticky spot. I don't know how to move forward. And while I do receive guidance, I also receive like, hey, you're doing great. right? Like, hey, I see you. You're doing wonderfully. Or I'll pull a card that exemplifies, or represents rather like a busy, I don't know, like a really busy time. I'm like, okay, this isn't just me, right? Like God sees that I'm struggling to stay on top of everything. And so it's just a really beautiful confirmation that we're not alone.
Right.
And that what we're experiencing in our lives is not something we're just making up in our head. And if it is something that we're making up in our head, Spirit will tell us that too. And they'll be like, all right, babe, suck it up. you gotta move through this, and this is how you're gonna do it.
Right, exactly. So just as a reminder, those of you that are listening or just tuning in, you are listening to Wake Up Laguna. I'm your host, Rick Jorgensen, and my guest today is Frances Naude. So, I try to every week, and thank you for this, by the way. Frances, by the way, does on her YouTube channel, and she'll post on her Insta channel as well, but she'll do a weekly reading. And especially on the YouTube channel, she goes into a lot of depth. And it's usually, I've played it live here on my show a couple of weeks ago, actually. 23, 24-ish minutes, right? I'm sure it's probably within that every week.
Yeah,
you keep it there, right about that, yeah. And it's what I find interesting about it, and very helpful, and I believe that tell me if I'm wrong, I think anyone that is listening to it, watching/listening, will get something different from it. Mm-hmm. It speaks differently depending on where you're at, who you are, and I think it's probably designed that way, right? Would you?
Yeah, totally agree. So in collective readings, as that is, it is specific, yet Spirit speaks very broadly, right? So they'll say, okay, what came up this week? It was about, what card did we pull? It was about, hang on, I'm going back to what we pulled. Oh, the moon card, right? So the moon is about changing of phases, and right, there's the definitions of the tarot cards. It's also about acknowledging fears. And so if I say that to someone, that's what's so funny about tarot, people who criticize tarot, because they're like, couldn't this just apply to anyone? I'm like, that's the point, right? Like it could apply to anyone. But when we are reading tarot in a collective setting, yes, it applies to everyone that is there. It is my belief that Spirit will guide you to find the readings that are meant for you. Whether that is with myself, another person, you working with your own cards. And so it will kind of shift based on what you're experiencing in your life. In a one-on-one session, obviously, it's much more personal because typically we'll start with a, hey, Rick, what's going on? And you'll be like, okay, well, this is going on. I'm feeling really confused about this. I'm not sure how to move through here. Or you'll come and be like, things are okay. I kind of just want to do a check-in. Great. And then we'll start and things will get a little bit more specific to your person. But in a collective reading, it's not that it's broad in the sense that the guidance is just willy-nilly. It's that the way that the messages come through for me, it is, this is not probably a word. Is this a word? Translatable? I'm going to say that it's a word. Translatable to each and every person because they know their experience best. And I always encourage people, as much as I believe in this work, take what serves, leave the rest. Sometimes things don't resonate right away. Sometimes they don't resonate at all. Sometimes a week later, you're like, oh yeah, Frances said that there was going to be conflict. And it's not Frances said, I'm the translator, right? So Spirit mentioned that there was going to be conflict. What I love about doing those weekly readings, I don't consider myself an expert astrologer by any means, but I do follow astrology and I have a lot of expert astrologer friends. And I usually look at the astrology after the fact. I'm like, something feels weird. What's going on in the stars? And then I'm like, oh, okay, we were just chatting. Like Mercury's in retrograde or Venus is retrograde right now. And so there's all these things. And then when I read tarot, so much of it echoes what's going on astrologically, which to me just further exemplifies we are so much more interconnected than we want to give ourselves, credit for. I mean, the stars are, it's I can't say it's science, but I want to think that it's science. It's energy. It's energy. And that's the same way that tarot works is it's energy and Spirit knows who's going to be there and watch. And so they guide that. And I don't know how it works, but I know it works.
I don't know how it works, but it works. I love that. That's fantastic. So you have the deck that you have brought in, your deck, and I'd love for you to do a reading for us.
Sure.
And however however it plays out, which is exciting.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Let's do a little mini reading here. So I'm going to get my cards out. I always start with the same prayer. This is my intention setting. I'm a big believer in setting energetic boundaries and being very intentional with energy. So I'm going to shuffle the cards. If you hear any noise in the background, that's what I'm doing. Working in the light and the highest for everyone here who is listening today or in a recording for their greatest good and deepest understanding at this time. Keeping my energy on, cleansed, and protected, and theirs as well. Welcoming in my spiritual team and each and every person who is here. Welcoming their team forwards in the highest good, the highest light. Okay, let's begin. So I'm going to spread the cards out. And let's see what comes through for this group who is listening. What we need to know. What's the question today? It's kind of like what we need to know, or I don't love the word need, what we are being guided to know today. I don't know why they're being so definitive about that. It doesn't mean today and only for today, but it's like what to know today for our individual futures. So where I do those weekly tarot card readings, this feels a little bit longer than that. It's like something that we can do today to implement for our greatest good and alignment moving forward in any time that works for you. So I'm just going to hover my hands over the card. I'll be quiet for just a moment. Okay, so we have 2 cards together and then a single card. When 2 cards come out at the same time, I pull them out kind of as a group. They work together to send the message that they're trying to share, and then a single card. So the first card of the set of 2. Wow, this is really, really interesting. It's the 8 of Cups. It's really interesting because this past weekend on Sunday, I hosted a spring equinox celebration at the Ecology Center. They have this new beautiful dome where they host yoga classes and wellness events, and I think they're going to do mini concerts, all kinds of stuff. Check it out. It's fantastic. But I did a tarot card reading there, and this was the card that came through in the tarot card reading. So there's definitely something in the energy this week with the 8 of Cups. Oh, wow. Okay, 2 8s. I'll get back to that in a second. We also have the 8 of Wands. This is funny because remember I was just giving the example of like, oh, if life feels really busy, God sees us. Yeah, that's what this card is. So the 8 of Cups is all about leaving behind anything that doesn't feel good. Cups in tarot are all about feelings and emotions. And we oftentimes hear in spiritual work, like kind of what I just said, if it doesn't serve you, let it go, right? If it doesn't feel good, let it go. But this is truly about checking in with those feelings, your emotions in your body, and being like, what am I done with? Like, what am I so sick of experiencing every day? Because it's time for me to find a way to let that go. So I understand now why they were saying what to know today for the future, right? Because it's like, we can't just all of a sudden be like, all right, I'm going to let go of my anxiety now. It's like, obviously, if we could do it that easily, we would. Or I'm going to let go of that grief now. I'm going to let go of whatever it is. This card is highlighting that those feelings that you've been feeling, they're not going to go away unless you finally help them go away. And likely the best way to do that is through, number one, the decision, like, okay, that's enough now. Like, I don't want to feel this. That's enough. I'm ready to release this. And then number 2, how are you going to release it? For some people, it could be super simple. It could be like you've been carrying around a lot of anger and you need to scream into a pillow and just like get it out, or go to a kickboxing class, or go swim or something. For others, it might be receiving outside support. Maybe this is going to a therapist, going to a healer, talking to a friend, having that conversation that you've been afraid to have, but that you know really needs to happen. If you're going to have the conversation with someone around a painful situation, it's really important that you are clear about what you want to say first. So think about that conversation first before you go to have it. Because cups are quite emotional cards, it's important that you have the mental clarity before you say it, because otherwise things might get lost in translation, especially because we're in Mercury retrograde right now, which does mess with communication. Clarity before the conversation is imperative. Otherwise, there might be a little bit of an explosive conversation. So if that is resonating with anyone, please make sure that you're getting clear first. We also have with this card the Eight of Wands. This is interesting because Eight of Wands is all about kind of like an upheaval of energy. The way that I like to describe this card, especially if you're someone who has long hair, it's like, you know, when you're outside and your hair is down and it's windy and the hair is blowing in your face, you're just like, oh my gosh, like I can't see anything. Or here we're in Laguna, right? Let's say like you get tumbled by the waves and you come up and your hair is all in your face and there's kind of that panicked energy. That's a lot of the energy with Eight of Wands. And so for those listening, there's almost a fear to address these feelings that are ready to be let go, because it's like, I don't have time to climb that mountain right now. Like there is so much there and I got to get to tomorrow. Like I need to go do school pickup. I have to make dinner tonight. Like I can't go there right now. And so Spirit is acknowledging like, yeah, it might be a mountain, but oh my gosh, aren't you going to be so proud of yourself once you climb that mountain? Aren't you going to be so glad to see that view, to leave all of that stuff behind so that by the time you get to the top, it's just this beautiful vista. You can breathe, you can let go, and then it's all downhill from there, right? So this card is encouraging you. That's why, too, they're encouraging you to seek support in this release, because we can't do everything on our own. And especially if you are feeling like there is too much of an upheaval of energy and you don't want to address it, you're going to need to make the space with someone else so that you're like, oh, I have that hour on Thursday. Okay, I have that time set. So that's what's coming through with Eight of Cups. The final piece with these two cards that's very interesting, 10s in tarot are completion, and we're at an 8. So 8s are almost there. You're almost there. You've almost done this work. So these are just those final steps to finally let that go. Any questions on those before we move to our last card?
No, I think that was pretty clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So our last card here, oh, beautiful. The Four of Swords. This is the card of rest. So anyone listening, take a break. Go take a break. Literally, like that might be taking a nap today. That might be ordering dinner tonight instead of cooking and cleaning. That might be booking the vacation. That might be hiring some help in your home. Maybe you normally do the cleaning and you're like, you know what? It's finally time to hire some help with that. Maybe it's not working through your lunch break and actually sitting away from your computer and eating your lunch. So Four of Swords is, even though it's showing, it's referencing back to that Eight of Wands cards, like things have been busy. We're also coming into spring, right? What day is it? The equinox, I think, is tomorrow. Yeah, the 20th. So we are in, I love this time of year because we finally feel that energy picking back up.
Yeah.
The sun is back out and it's like everything starts to come more alive. But with that, my calendar right now is like, it is so full and I'm excited about it, but I also have to be really mindful that I'm not running myself dry. And I'm talking to like social calendar, just kind of everything. And so I think that's true for a lot of people. There's a little bit of a busyness in the energy. So Four of Swords is reminding you to make space to rest, because it's kind of like, what's that saying they say? If you don't slow down, your body will slow you down for you. It's kind of like that. So preemptively taking care of yourself and managing your energy, both in a like energetic like body sense, but also in your energy levels, like how tired you are, how much time you're resting, how much sleep you're getting, what you're eating, how much water you're drinking, all of that, and really making sure that you're taking care of your body so that it can be in its natural healing state, its homeostasis. Because when we're pulled out of that, that's when we get sick. That's when we have these little accidents, right? We stub our toe or whatever it is. So slowing down, resting, and really taking care of the body and the mind as well, which even goes all the way back to that first card of Eight of Cups, is kind of a check-in. So overall message from these cards this week for this group is, please check in with yourself. How am I? Am I okay? Do I need help? Do I need to sit down And it sounds so simple, but I can't remember the last time I did that for myself, and I'm in this work, right? So it's really important this week that we're doing that, because that's going to help create that sustained energy and alignment that we all want in our life.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you are listening to Wake Up Laguna. I'm your host, Rick Jorgensen. I am here with my guest, Frances Naude, and Frances is diving into her tarot deck for us and just gave us a bit of a reading. So where do we go from here, Frances?
Oh my gosh. Will you let me know? Any questions about tarot? I can give you the things I've heard about tarot that people are scared of.
Well, I think just traditionally tarot has, I mean, you can picture back in the day this gypsy encampment, and this gypsy wagon, and here's this gypsy woman sitting there with this deck laid out in front of her, and it's kind of this creepy, scary feeling, and you're going in there, and she's going to give you this reading, right? I mean, I think that's from a stereotypical standpoint, kind of the imagery that you get from it. But I think, to your point, it has evolved tremendously, and I think there's still a lot of I don't know that I guess I would use the word fear, especially I think how maybe organized religion looks at it, right, and portrays it. But I think for a lot of people, it's probably, number one, a lot more accessible now. Individuals like yourself making it available and making it real and making it, that's why I think what you're doing on a weekly basis on YouTube and sharing it on Insta is so important, because I just think it's so, when you're looking at someone like yourself, you're going, wow, Frances seems like, a normal kind of person. She's not really this, woo-woo, floating in the ether type of woman. She's, okay, maybe there is something to this. So I really think that's important. And I just think that the more people understand, the more they will either, and like you said, take what serves you and leave the rest, right? So I think that's what's important to know about it as well. But like, for instance, when you just did a reading, and you what Frances did was she basically floated her hand above the deck and then just stopped and pulled twice. She pulled 2 cards the first time and 1 card the second time. What in a individual reading, when you have somebody there, a lot of it is guided by what, I think you said this before, but a lot of it is guided by what maybe they're telling you, what's happening in their life, what's concerning them right now, what's consuming them, if you will. Do you normally, when you're doing a reading, is that the approach just exactly what you just did?
Yeah.
Or do you go back into the deck?
Yes. So I will go. So let's say, for example, it will look very similar. But for example, someone will come and let's say they're saying, look, I'm really struggling right now. My husband and I just cannot seem to get on the same page, and we love each other. We want to be together, but we just keep arguing. What do I do? Now, I always preface, this is not advice, because for legal reasons, I'm like, this is your life.
Exactly.
However, usually I'll say, okay, well, what can we understand about this? So that's typically where I'll start. I usually start a little broader. So I'll say, okay, Spirit, so-and-so is feeling XYZ in their marriage, and she would like some additional insight into this. So I'll hover my hands over the cards and I'll pull what's coming through. Usually, I mean, I can't say for certain what will come through because it's so different for every person, but usually we'll get information on why the energy is what it is. And we'll also usually get a confirmation card like, whoa, there is some argumentative energy here. You guys are not just making this up. Like, this is a real thing. So then we'll say, okay, what do we do here? What is the best way to move forward? Now, the one thing I always preface is I will never, ever, ever pull tarot or do Reiki on another person who has not consented to receive. So I have a lot of people be like, well, what should my husband do? I'm like, your husband needs to come in. But what we can pull on is what you can do within your marriage with your partner, right? So maybe then that'll be the next pull. So we'll say, okay, I'll use my own name. What can Frances do to best communicate with her husband so that it doesn't end up in an argument? We'll pull a card or two or three or however many come on that, and then the person will receive some action steps on how to best move forward. Then it's like, then maybe they're like, okay, I feel good in my marriage, but now my career is feeling really stagnant. What's really interesting is usually the topics that people bring up, they're all intertwined, right? So I find this a lot. I've seen it in my own life as well, where I've learned so much about humans from doing this work. Oftentimes when people feel stagnant in their career or their purpose, it does affect their relationships, right? So let's say now the person that comes in, I'm feeling really stagnant in my career. I chose to invest my time in raising our children, and I'm so happy I got to do that. And now I'm really searching for purpose in my life, and I want to come back into who I am as a woman. Great. Let's get some insight on that. So we'll pull some cards as to, maybe how to still show up as a mother, because that role never goes away no matter how old your kids get. And then we'll maybe pull some cards on what core values in your energy are yearning for attention right now. Sometimes it'll come through, for example, let's say the Hierophant card comes up. That's the mentorship card. I'm like, oh, have you ever thought about either being a teacher in some capacity, a mentor in some capacity, or do you need to go out and seek mentorship? You've been out of the career game for 7 years. Maybe we need to go and have someone, take you under their wing for a while, right? So it can be all, these are just examples, but really anything at all. So kind of the main reasons that people want some guidance in tarot: love, either existing relationship or finding love, career and purpose. A lot of, and I love this, I'm saying this because I love it. How do I make more money and do less? I'm like, let's figure that out, because that's what we all want, right? And then a lot of personal and self-development as well, which I love. Also, people come when they're feeling disconnected from any type of spiritual connection, whether that is God, whether that is earth, truly anything. And so it's kind of understanding maybe where that little shift happened and what spirit wants you to know. And just reminding you, like, hey, I'm here. Whether you connect with me, I'm always connected with you. And so reminding them of that. But yeah, there's 78 cards in a tarot deck. So you're going to get some very specific guidance based on what comes for you. We never pull the wrong card. It's always what you're guided towards. And why I love intuitive tarot card reading so much, which means that in addition to the traditional definition of the card, I also receive through the channel and what else is coming through. And also, I think Reiki complements that really well, because even though someone's not in a Reiki session, I'm quite attuned to reading energy, and I can feel where energy is moving in someone's body. It really provides, you can't hide from it. It's like, hey, here's the mirror, right? When we go to therapy, and I love therapy, I go to therapy, I think everyone should go to therapy. I think it's fantastic because it's really nurturing the brain space, that divine masculine, which is a integral part of being human. But with tarot and with Reiki, this is really nurturing the soul self, which is really the guiding force behind everything that we do. We've just forgotten that as humans, right. Which brings me back all the way to your first point. Yeah, there's this stigma around it. In fact, I created little promotional cards for light work, and it says on the back, it says, when you think about card readings, you think of the lady sitting in the back room with the red satin tablecloth. This is not that, because it's exactly what you said. And so that is my passion, is to make this accessible just as it is with any other type of support you're receiving. It's just receiving it in a different way. And for me, in an extremely important way, because we've forgotten as a society that it's supposed to be heart-led. It's supposed to be soul-led. It's supposed to be intuitively led. I love the brain. I'm a very A-type person. Like I love that organization and the problem solving and strategy. But if we're only in that, we miss out on what it is to be a human. And that's really what this work has taught me, of like, I'm always going to be human. I'm always going to have the ups and downs of that. And I think to bypass that is also irresponsible, right? We can't be happy-go-lucky floating in the stars all the time, because then we actually dishonor our soul's choice of coming to Earth, in my opinion. But I think there's a beautiful balance between the two. And all that to say, tarot, I think, really helps to identify that and clarify that for people.
So in a tarot session that you would have with someone, you could really just dive deep into, okay, the what about this and what about this, and really just kind of go down, I don't know if I want to call it a rabbit hole, but I mean, just go get very specific on what, people are dealing with, or what should I do, or how should I approach this, or right, and and pulling of the cards is really giving you a guidance.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they're the tool. It's kind of like the texts from Spirit. I'm like, all right, they have this question, and the way that I oftentimes, especially with people who are newer to the work, help them to evoke the questions or the experiences they really want insight on. I always say, I am by no means equating myself to God at all. However, if you could sit down with God or universe or whatever your belief is, what would you really truly want to ask? Because let's ask that. Because those are those soul questions that if we don't make the time to dive deeply into, we're always going to wonder. We're always going to have this little voice in the back of our head of uncertainty or of ungroundedness. So, yes, it can go on. I mean, I've done readings for my friends where 2.5 hours later, I'm like, I need to stop. I love you, but I can't. Take a deck home. There's a guidebook in there. You can do it yourself, because sometimes, and it is when we're in these really big transition periods in life. I mean, I totally get it. And oftentimes I find these around people's Saturn returns, which is an astrological term every 28 years, right? Which we typically see. So we come between 25 and 29. Typically people will start feeling the energy of their Saturn return. And that's when so many of us are like, what am I doing? Like, who am I, right? And then what? In your late 50s, is that the right math? 28, 38, 48, yeah, 58. Then we have kind of our midlife crises. Again, what am I doing? Where am I going? Who am I? What do I believe in? Like all of these things, right? And so, those are really the times where I can feel people's energy like yearning for clarity and answers. But also, aside from that, I read tarot for myself at least once a week. I would prefer to do it once a day, but right now I have a tiny toddler at home, and anyone who's had a tiny toddler knows that time is the most valued resource. But yeah, I mean, just a card a day. Like, hey team, what's my focus today? What do I need to know today?
That's
Anything
great.
I need to be mindful of?
Yeah.
And it's really helpful. It's a helpful anchor. I mean, even those weekly readings, I go back and I watch those, which sounds so weird, but when I'm doing them, I'm channeling. So I don't really know what I'm saying. And then afterwards, I hate like watching myself, but I'll listen to it like it's a podcast, and I just kind of pretend that it's not me so I can get the guidance from them. And they're such great anchors. I mean, 2 weeks ago, one of the cards that came up was conflict, and it was Five of Wands, and it was about like conflict in the energy, and it came up around relationships. And it happened to be the week that Venus retrograde, and when that happens, it's all about our love space. And I was so happy I knew that, because there were 2 arguments that me and my husband were having, silly little things, like normal relationship spats. And I was like, Francis, just tighten up, ground your energy. It's in the air. Like, you can still have a conversation, but this does not need to be an argument as big as your emotions are making it want to be right now. And had I not known that from tarot, it probably would have escalated. So it's a really helpful way to just anchor into the energy and into the reality of what's going on.
Sure. And the beauty, I think, of tarot is, and you've kind of designed your deck this way, well, the deck and the guidebook more specifically, is someone that says, I'd love to do this for myself. I'd love to learn more about it. That pretty much is kind of going to give you, right? I mean, you've got to know all of the meanings of the cards. But I'm guessing in the guidebook it has it, right?
Yes.
So you can pull the cards, and especially if it's early days with you and your deck. And I think that's kind of cool, actually, because I feel that if you have your own deck, that deck is yours. Mm-hmm. That energy is yours. That really allows spirit to really speak, right, to you through your own deck, because it's yours, not anybody else's. And I think that's really a cool way to be able to interact with the cards that way. And I love the at least the idea that you have that every day I'd like to check in, and which doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Doesn't happen.
Because life goes on. But yeah, it's a great tool to have. And yes, that is why the guidebook, a lot of tarot decks are sold without guidebooks. I think those are great for people who already know how to read tarot. But if you don't, you want to know what your card means, right? And so that's why, the guidebook is really lovely and makes it really accessible for anyone to work with this tool, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a tool. I believe in the spiritual side of it, but also one doesn't have to, right? This could just be a personal development tool, the same way you have a self-help book or, a journal prompt workbook or something like that. Again, I think it's that plus the way that I communicate with spirit, but it's really your own practice, and I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I love that. And so just to let everybody know, if you're listening to the recording, you will see on my show page, Wake Up Laguna, and that would be on kxfmradio.org, and look up Wake Up Laguna under the shows, and you'll see on my show page there'll be all of my podcasts. This will be uploaded later today as a podcast that you maybe are right now listening to. If you're listening to it live, you can get information on Frances in that specific podcast. You can see that there's going to be a little bit of a detail box there that will have all of Frances's contact information, her websites, her business, that type of thing, and how you can reach out and contact Frances and book a reading, book a Reiki healing, whatever you would like to do. And also, it will be on my YouTube channel that you will also find this. I'll upload this, and then all of Frances's information will be there as well. So, Frances, as always, this has been wonderful, and this has been really cool. I love that we took this deep dive into tarot, and we really got a sense of kind of, what it's all about, where it came from, how it can help you in your daily life, which I think is really, really important. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I love being here.
Absolutely. So, and as always, I'm super grateful to be here on the air every Wednesday morning on Wake Up Laguna, and it is a real privilege for me to be able to fill this time and bring this kind of information to you all. Just have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you right here the same time next week on Wake Up Laguna on KXFM. Thanks, everybody.
Mama, hey.